Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first podcast. Robin is already an experienced podcaster, having done one on Pokemon.
Yeah, which went very well.
Well, I was involved, so probably wasn't going to go very well.
But you're involved in this one.
But I know slightly more about Age of Sigmar than I do about Pokemon. Pokemon Go I can talk about, but all the rest kind of went over my head. So we're going for Mark 2 of Age of Sigmar, and we're going to be specifically talking about Spearhead. And in this one, we had to start with Stormcast, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, the poster boys of Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
Notably, we're doing the older Spearhead
The
first.
Yndrasta Spearhead.
Yeah. Not the newer one, because I've got more experience with the Yndrasta one, and I just think it's a bit of a better one, and it's an easier one to start with.
And you've not fully painted the other one.
And I've not fully painted the other one.
Which is probably the biggest reason, but
yes, well, yeah.
Who knows? We've played, I mean, you must have played at least...
Yeah, I'm probably
20
odd games.
Against various different armies as well.
I've probably got more wins than losses with it as well. Notably, I have won a tournament with it as well.
Yeah.
I won the first ever Quest tournament with them.
At Warhammer World. You've got to add that bit in. It sounds more prestigious. If it's like your store tournament, I mean, great, but if you say your Warhammer World, it sounds a lot more prestigious.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the Spearhead, the various models, the abilities, and then Robin's going to have a little bit of talk at the end about how he finds them to play.
Yeah, just sort of like, you can use this as kind of like, do I get the Spearhead? Am I going to enjoy it? Kind of feel from it. Because you often find sometimes that armies play very different from how they read in the book. This should hopefully give you a bit of insight. And hopefully help you fight them in the future.
Especially me, I do need a lot of help fighting them, especially after our latest game, which we will talk about a bit later.
Yes.
But we'll get started with what you actually get. So, Yndrasta Spearhead, you get...
Yndrasta, she is your general. Kind of the big centerpiece of the box and of the army. But you do also get another hero. You get Knight of Elexor. He's the guy with the big flag. At first glance, isn't necessarily the most important part of your army, but you find that he is a key part of it.
He is the most feared part of your army. Even when I play him in the full game, I do not like him at all. His abilities to heal and the control score.
Yeah. Just not fun. In Spearhead, when most things have quite low control score, his ability to make himself control score 8 is very strong. Going on to your units, you get 1 squad of 3 Annihilators and 2 squads of 5 Vanquishers, and then lastly, the Storm Strike Chariot, which I don't rate particularly, but a lot of people seem to.
I think it's a big scary thing, and the fact it can get most places.
Yeah.
And takes a lot to kill.
It takes a lot to kill,
That's the worst part for anyone playing it, personally.
Again, going back to Knight of Elexor, it's a brilliant tactic to lock up stuff with the Chariot and then just sit the Knight behind him, buffing him, making the Chariot 5 control score. Yeah. Again, it's very high for Spearhead.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the thing to note is you don't get all of these from the start of the battle.
Nope, that is this army's battle trait. Lightning Strike Arrival, which is a bit ironic because Lightning Strike makes it fast, but actually you get Yndrasta and the 3 Annihilators in battle round 3, your movement phase. Anywhere on the battlefield and 6 away.
I feel like things like that are a little bit underrated.
Yes.
Because, yeah, it'd be great to have her from the start, but having her anywhere late on stops your opponent from cutting off the head for 2 battle rounds.
It's also, if you potentially pull Take Without Warning or attack on through 2 fronts, cards like that, units coming in late, brilliant for stuff like that. Again, the cards don't necessarily fall that way. Even then, you can just take 2 objectives, potentially, if your opponent's not set up brilliantly. The only thing is, obviously, downsides to it. The army isn't exactly the most killing army in the world. It's pretty good for defense and saves. You've got a fair bit of health. But unless you're facing kind of large amounts of weak squads, they don't do a massive amount of damage. So you could potentially be in a situation where turn 3, that's maybe all you've got left. So there is obviously that trade-off to it.
But all in all, I think it's kind of like you said, positives and negatives.
Yeah.
Not always looking and going, oh no, I don't get half my army from the start, because it could help you later on.
Yeah.
Especially, I think the only downside is that 6-inch charge.
Yeah, obviously dropping it 6, you should get them. But again, you're dropping the Annihilator 6, you're rolling 2 6-inch charges in a turn. It's not ideal, and then the likelihood is you've set them up 6. It's then going to be their turn. They will just then charge you.
Or run away from you if they look a bit scary.
Yeah, if they're not particularly... Yeah. But to be fair, Yndrasta can probably catch you. She's got a 12-inch move. Fly.
Annihilators are only...
Annihilators, unfortunately, 4. So if you run away from them, you aren't catching them. You have got to be very careful with the Annihilators. If they drop in, fail their charge, you could potentially just have a wasted squad. Ideally, you want to roll an 8 with them. But we'll get into that later.
I feel like you're pretty rounded because you've got a little bit of everything. You've got your chariot for your movement. I know your other things aren't particularly fast, but Spearhead board is small, so you get around. You get the things that come in later. You have a tiny bit of shooting. It's not a bad Spearhead for having a bit of everything. I suppose the only thing you've not got is like a cavalry unit.
Yeah, you don't really have that really punchy unit. Like you say, the cavalry one that kind of charges in and smashes. Obviously, the chariot does have its impact charge, but
other than that,
you're probably not killing a unit with it. So you get 2 regiment abilities of this army. You get drive them back, which at first I didn't particularly rate because I didn't quite understand it at first, but I actually think it is the better of the 2. So it's an end of turn ability. That's the important thing about it. You can pick any number of friendly units that are both contesting an objective and in combat. So essentially a unit on an objective and in combat with a unit. That enemy unit doesn't necessarily need to be on the objective as well. You just need to be on it and in combat. At the end of the turn, importantly, you can then make a pile-in move, so you can make your 3-inch move, potentially getting more models on the objective, or less if that's something that may be relevant for you. I don't know.
Or just moving around somewhere. It might not be this turn it's doing you much, but because turn's time.
The other thing is, importantly, it's end of any turn. So both people's turns, you could potentially... I only got 1 person in combat in your turn, but I'm going to move them round. And now in my turn, I've got all 5 of them, or all 3 of them, or whoever. And then potentially you're taking the objective as well. And also you can do a mortal wound, which, again, it's a 50-50, so you don't necessarily always get it. But I see that more as a bit of a bonus on top. What you really want there is the pile-in move, because that's powerful. Movement's powerful in this game, and it's free movement. And importantly, you can, in theory, do it with your whole army every turn.
I think that's what's good. It's not just it's one thing, it's the whole army. As long as they're on that objective or different objectives, they're just moving around. Yeah. Which when you're trying to pin something in or stop a retreat, really helps with that.
Shielding your general. If I'm slowly, you only get to move once, I get to move 2. Because obviously, importantly, you still get to make your normal pile-in move. So in theory, that's 6 inches of move. Free movement.
So instead of doing that
one, you could defend to the last, which is similar. You have to be on an objective, but it has to be an objective you control, which isn't great. This is one of the army's slight weakness. They're not brilliant with control score, but it then gives you a 6-up ward, which nothing in the Spearhead has a ward other than Yndrasta. She has a 6 normally. She can buff it, but she only normally has a 6. And that is a Stormcast weakness in general. They don't get wards. And for the longest time, I used to pick that one before I properly read Drive Them Back.
I mean, I think if you're playing against an army that does do mortals...
Yes, obviously, if there's an army that does a large amount of mortals, it's not... And then also have a ward themselves, so your mortals aren't going to necessarily do much back. It's not a dead option, but it's definitely a much harder one to get value from.
I suppose you typically know who's going first at that stage, because I feel like if you're not going first, that's probably not doing much for you for the first battle round or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe very situational choice.
Yeah. That, and obviously a 6-up ward, 1 in 6 chance.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of chances.
I mean, our main armies are ones that have a 6-up ward, so my Fire Slayers, your Flesh Eaters, we kind of know that it's great when you stop something, but you really can't rely on a 6. Yeah. 5 just seems so much better than a 6.
I mean, it is nice when you get that clutch 2 6s and it saves your model and whatever, But if you look at it more from like a straight up competitive point of view, a 6-up ward's not going to keep you around very long. You're only blocking a few wounds, especially in Spearhead where stuff doesn't tend to have a lot of health and doesn't tend to do a great deal of damage. It's a bit more valuable.
So those are your 2 choices there. For enhancements, 4 choices.
Yes. Now, one of these, unfortunately, is a little... it's very good. It's very strong, but obviously only affects monsters, so isn't ideal to pick most of the time. And it's basically the Prime Huntress. Obviously, in lore, Yndrasta is a big monster slayer. That's kind of a thing. So it's very thematic that you get something like this. But basically, the damage characteristic of the Thane Graver, her spear, basically. I'm going to apologise. Names are not going to be pronounced properly
By either of us, so
Yep.
good luck.
The damage characteristic becomes 2d6 while fighting monsters. So it could potentially have 12 damage. It currently has 4, so it does have that potential that if you roll 2 1s or a 1 and a 2, you do less damage.
Oh, that's interesting.
You're unlikely to. Then again, also, you are probably the most average you're going to roll on 2 dice is 7. So you kind of look at that as it's taking her ranged attack where you only get 1, and it's 3s and 2s. You're only getting 2 of them.
And she's only going to do it twice the whole battle, because she's only coming in the 3rd. So if you are against maybe
again,
big Carnosaur...
Yeah, it's definitely an option for monsters. It's not a guaranteed one, but it can be really good. Again, I really, whenever I face a monster, I do tend to take it. I'm not going to say I don't, but don't look at that and think it's amazing. Her second passive is Strike with the Tempest Rage. Really simple. If she charges, she gets strike first, which is an amazing ability generally. Any unit that's kind of equipped with that is a big buff. Potentially with Yndrasta, it is unfortunate. It's a 6-inch charge. You put her down, you fail that, your opponent charges you, you're locked in combat. You've only got one other turn. Depending on how that combat goes, you're probably still going to be in combat. And then that's an enhancement that's not being used. If you can get it, it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to kind of take that into account.
And it is your turn anyway.
Yes.
So you're really worried about her getting the first strike. Chances are, unless someone's got something to give you strike last, you are going to have that attack regardless. I suppose it means that you get her and another unit before anyone gets anything, which could be important.
I've had a few games now where I don't think I've had any game, because I occasionally do pick it, I'm not saying I don't. Again, giving anything strike first, very powerful. I don't think I've ever got it off twice in the game.
Yeah.
I think maybe I get it off once. And then, like you say, you kind of get locked in combat. Because while she can do massive damage in combat, she kind of falls under that general role where she only rolls 5 dice. You could quite easily roll 3 misses, even with her only hitting on 3s. Quite easily roll a 1, a 1, and a 2, and then you get 2 through. And even though she's got great rend, someone then just rolls 2 6s. Yeah, it's not impossible, unlikely, but unfortunately, there's no real way of guaranteeing her damage. When she does do a damage, crazy damage, but strike first, very strong. Not guaranteed it. So now we're going into our last 2. These 2 are both once per battle. So again, little downside, especially if you're only getting it the last 2 turns. This one more especially. So basically, in your movement phase, she can do this, and she gets to return 1 slain model to each friendly unit wholly within 12 of your general. Very powerful, but then when you've got to think about it, that's only going to be your 2 vanquishers. So at most, you're getting 2 vanquishers back. And that's if the board's set up for it. You can't get your Annihilators back because you'd have struggled to have lost one in the hero phase. I suppose you could wait and use it in the 4th round and then potentially get an extra Annihilator back if you've lost one. So realistically, the max value you're getting out of that is 2 Vanquishers and an Annihilator in the last round.
Which could be game-changing, could also do nothing. And with a wholly within 12.
Wholly within 12, hard to set up.
Yeah.
And again, that's the type of thing where it's hard to kind of plan. If you're just having a big old smash up in the center with everything, that'd be great. But likelihood is you're going to have one in one corner, one in another, trying to take an objective. And as much as you can put her in the center, 12 doesn't quite cover the board very well.
She hasn't got that big a base. She's not like, a big monster that's got a big base. It's not huge. So you've got to measure from that. Makes it a bit trickier.
It's not a bad one, but again, it's one of those ones where If the game's going well, you don't need it. If the game's going terribly,
Probably
you're
not
probably not going to save you. And lastly, again, once per battle, so you can only use it once. And similarly, it has to be within 12 inches. But essentially, she gives off a +1 to hit bubble to all friendly units. So the important thing is she also gets it. She is a friendly unit. It does not say other. So it makes everything in your army hit on 2s.
Ooh, which is crazy.
Potentially if they're within 12.
Yeah.
Which again, going back to what we said before, isn't always easy to get everything in. You kind of have to decide a side of the board she comes down. Sometimes you have to be careful that you put her down somewhere in the hopes that you'll be in combat, and then you don't make that charge, and then you go, now half the things I want are. So sometimes you kind of have to position her. Luckily, you can put her kind of wherever you want. It has to be 6 away, so it is a bit restrictive.
Again, when I said about the base size for other things, I guess it makes it easier to put her down, it being a bit smaller.
Yeah.
In spaces that other bigger units would struggle. And being 1 to hits wasn't just for her, it was just for everyone else, it's for her as well, which is
very
good.
Which
makes her attacks even more consistent.
Yeah, which is the name of the game. And that is typically the one I pick.
I think all 4 are sort of...
Yeah.
None of them are a standout, but none of them are a never take. All of them have the situations.
All of them have brilliant situations. They're all really strong. They're just unfortunately a little situational at times.
So, I mean, we've spoken a lot about Yndrasta there.
Yeah.
Is there much else, do you think, that we need to talk about in terms of how you would use her in your games?
No. I mean, typically she is kind of the unit you come down. She's coming down in round 3. She's quite good for taking objectives because you can just pop down. If your opponent's not screening very well and blocking the board, you could potentially just drop both your units and take 2 objectives.
I mean, that's where I always struggle to know what to do, because if you go, okay, I need to stop them dropping an objective, but then if they do drop on an objective I've left empty, they can't charge you and stay on it. So it's kind of the gamble of, do you block them and hope they don't get their charge, or do you leave them empty and know that they'll get the points, but they're not attacking you?
Yeah. Sometimes it's easy with the corner ones. You can essentially position units around if you've got enough. They can't drop behind in the corners. If they charge you, then they're then also not going to get on the objectives.
I think the thing playing against Yndrasta that's the most annoying is, because she is your general, if I draw Slay the General early on, I just can't do it. There's nothing I can do. I mean, I like the ability counter charge is a good one to use if you can't, but it just means that, because I can't think of any other army this happens with.
Nope.
A card is completely pointless unless you get it after she's down, and even then, 2 turns to kill her.
2 turns. She's got, so moving into it now, she's got 8 health, save of a 3, ward save of a 6. Her 1 ability is once per battle in the combat phase, she can give herself a 5-up ward. She is very tanky.
Yeah.
She's not the most tankiest thing, but 8 health, 3-up save, quite a good ward once per battle. Also, that means you're in combat with her, and like we said, I know I've kind of downplayed her damage a bit. If she does get her damage through, 5 attacks, 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, damage 3. If you get all of them through, that's 15 damage.
Yeah.
And some armies, she can just do that with 2 rend.
Yeah.
Especially on the smaller infantry stuff. That just goes straight through.
If you compare her with pretty much every other general I can think of, she's probably got to have the best overall stats.
Yeah. Plus she can shoot as well. Unfortunately, she only gets 1. So again, you don't tend to get it through both times. But
bonus when you get it through, rather than relying on it.
3s to hit, 2s to wound, 2 rend again, 4 damage. So again, that's very good to pop her down and maybe pick off a general that's battle damaged. That's quite a nice thing to do with it. But yeah, really don't guarantee that.
And I suppose, as much as you want to shoot it, sometimes you've got to think, if I shoot a unit, kill a few, do I make that charge more than a 6? That could burn you. Rather you want her in, rather than her doing a bit of damage with shooting.
And it's a 12-inch range, so you can potentially put her somewhere, shoot at a different unit you're not intending to charge. If it hits, great bonus damage. If it doesn't, nothing lost. It'd be quite nice if she had an enhancement that let her reroll a charge once. That'd be a very good one.
It would, and I can understand why, as a player having her, you'd want that, because it must be frustrating if you pot her down, She misses the charge. That's even more of the game she's doing nothing. But as a player who's suffered her consequences of getting in a charge, you kind of need that occasionally. She's not going to make it. Because at 6, you are going to make it more times than you're not.
Yeah, you should in theory make it.
Now, for you, the next thing in your army, it's funny because
I don't really rate it.
You don't rate it, but like you say, everyone you play against always goes, a chariot.
Yeah.
I'm going to charge that because it looks scary. And,
it looks scary.
And I know it doesn't do much damage, but I feel like the ability to get round a small board and the ability to not get killed is probably its biggest assets.
So the Storm Strike Chariot, it means fairly standard chariot stats, but to be fair, there isn't not many armies that have it. The slaves have one, but this is better than the slaves one.
Yep.
So 10 movement, 10 health, 3 save, 2 control. Obviously, it's a good target to put a buff on to make it a 5 control and also heal.
Yeah.
But it also has a ranged attack again. Don't guarantee on the range. It's 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage. But it's nice just to do just an initial bit of damage. It gets a lot of attacks. 3 attacks at 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage. You tend to get 2 through with that. It's fairly passable. Griffin Charger, the only thing in the army that doesn't hit on a 3, hits on a 4, companion attack. So notably, doesn't get the bonus +1 to hit, with it being companion. 4s to hit, 3s to wounds, but you do get 6 attacks. So you've got the potential of 9 damage there. It's unlikely you're ever going to get 9 through.
With 1 rend as well, if you've got something that has just got a 6-up save, you're going through their save.
Don't get me wrong, you tend to get about 3-4 damage through with it fairly consistently. And obviously it gets the chariot charge thing on a 2-up, inflict D3 mortals. With armies that have fairly smaller squads, you're potentially doing quite a bit, which is quite good.
You've just said all the good things about it, so why don't you rate it?
Maybe it's because the simple fact of everyone sees it, and basically one of 2 things happens. Either it's my turn 1, I charge it in, and it just sort of gets locked in combat and it just sits there, which isn't too bad if you can put it on an objective, don't get me wrong. Or people just charge into it and you sort of lose because it can't shoot in combat, so you kind of lose that little bit of extra. And it's because it's such a big base, once it's in combat, it's hard to get it out of combat. It's probably not for a couple turns killing itself out of combat, so it's kind of stuck, and that's kind of what you want. And it is, unfortunately, for the first 2 turns at least, your only mobility.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Your army's not a slow army, but that is your one thing that can get you the long battlefield edge, can get you out of your side into the other side, not in combat.
Or just take the dials.
Yeah.
Turn 1, or potentially have a unit in the enemy territory, not in combat. It's very hard for this army, especially in those beginning turns. The amount of times that you set up the 5 at the 6th line and you run, because they only move 5, so they don't even get into the enemy territory turn 1 without a run. And they're
you probably need
slightly bigger bases.
3.
I mean, depending on how you set up, sometimes if you set up in a straight line, you're looking at least a 3. If you double rank them, then you're needing a 6.
Yeah, maybe there you go. So that's what people see as the abilities it has to score your points, do your things. If it's locked in combat, like you said, difficult to retreat. It's not. I mean, I've had a game before where, because it's such a big base and where they put their terrain feature, they ended up having troops stuck behind it.
Yeah.
They couldn't move, it couldn't move, and it ended up blocking them more than helping them.
It's a little bit of an awkward one, especially during deployment. You're going straight across with it. It's very hard to fit it in.
To be 6 away from the enemy territory.
Yeah. And I suppose another advantage that I don't really think about, it's a war machine. So most armies don't tend to get the plus buff rends to it and things like that.
No.
A lot of things have plus to infantry, heroes. I tend to use it as, I think it's a really nice combo, is to have the flag guy holding an objective himself, have the chariot charge in, and just keep buffing. Because the main thing about the chariot is 10 health, saving on a 3. Yeah, very tanky unit.
Yeah,
and then
a lot.
You can keep healing it, keep buffing its control score. It's got 5 control. Some squads can obviously just wipe over that really easily, but they tend to be weaker ones that you can whittle down.
Yep. And if you've got your Knight Velexor stood on the same objective, that's 10 control score.
10 control score.
A whole group of 10, if you kill one of them, that's it.
And the likelihood is you're going to kill one before they kill one of yours.
Yeah.
So, kind of going on to the more basic units now. You've got the Vanquishers, which are 2 health, again, saving over 3, Stormcast. Control 1, move 5. They only have 1 ability, and it's a great horde killing one. The Lightning Strikes basically makes their damage characteristic 2 if they're fighting a unit with 5 or more models. Some armies this is brilliant. Skaven ones, as you'll see in the game, Nighthaunt. This is a brilliant ability against stuff like that, which they kind of need. Not the most damaging army, but they get 2 attacks each, 3s and 3s, rend 1 damage. There's not really much to say. They're infantry. They're what you take your objectives. You ideally want to fight the smaller, squishier stuff with them. You don't want to be fighting generals. You don't really want to be fighting anything like that. That's the kind of thing you want your Yndrasta to come down for. Notably, they're not reinforceable. So again, once you've lost them, you've lost them. Very hard to fight against an army with mortals, as we've said before, because they just vanish quickly.
I tend to find whenever I've played them, either I've killed them or whittled them down to 1 and 2. 1 and 2 aren't doing much. They can't really retreat out of it very easily because of the lack of ward in their movement. So they'll do next to nothing, or they'll be attacking a unit with 5 or more models, and they'll be doing so much damage. And it'll be like, wow, look how good are these. I find there's probably not much middle ground, so you've probably got to know what you're doing with them and put them into the right things.
They're not bad as far as they go. They're not bad little infantry units, but you've also got to be. Means you've got to plan your attacks out a little bit better. You don't want to say activate with a chariot and take a squad that's got 6 or 7 down to 4, and then half your damage. You've got to be very. They can do massive damage. The amount of times I've just wiped a 10 squad of clan rats.
And that's big on clan rats because they're the type that could just be bringing them back all the time. And if you've wiped them, they'll come back under reinforcements, but they won't come back another time.
And I just wipe them again next turn. Because the likelihood is with 3s and 3s, you probably are going to do 4 or 5 damage.
And they've only got a save of a 5, so
rend 1 6s
means they're not saving much.
The second unit that drops down in the 3rd battle round, you've got the Annihilators. Health 3, saving on a 2, control score 1, 4 movement. They're like, don't get me wrong, they are really good because they're even quite good in combat as well because it's 3 attacks each, you get 9 attacks. 3s and 3s, rend 1, not importantly 2 damage, very strong. You're getting almost as many as the Vanquishers, so you should be getting about 4 or 5 through. But that 2 damage again, and that's a flat 2 damage, so that can be against a general. That can do damage against a general. The big downside to them is that 4 movement. If you drop them down, fail your charge. If you've not dropped them on an objective or something like that, sometimes you kind of, unfortunately, with the way that you get a weak start with Stormcast, you kind of have to go use them to do a card. So you don't necessarily drop them in the fray, and then they kind of get a bit stuck.
Because it's a tricky one because you don't want to do that with Yndrasta. But then in the same breath, Yndrasta would next turn probably have the movement to get somewhere else. They don't.
But then if you picking a 12-inch bubble thing that she's given, you're then wasting that. It's very hard. On the bright side, they have a good charge ability if they get it off, which is if they charge on an 8+, an unmodified roll of an 8+, they give the target they charged into strike last. Which again, as we said earlier, strike first, really strong. Give something strike last, again, very strong. And
if you did couple it with Yndrasta's ability for giving her strike first on the charge, you could be fighting with your whole army before they do anything. If you get those 2 things off, that turn which you need it to be could be very good. You could also not roll a single 8+ and it do nothing.
Exactly. You're only potentially getting 2, maybe 3 if you've got the card. So you're not getting... Likelihood is you shouldn't get that. But I've had games where they've only needed the 1, they've strike last, and they've managed to... Again, you're dropping in late. Potentially you're fighting half-strength squads. They can wipe squads. They can do a lot of damage. They can kill generals that are only half. Big things that have got a few wounds on them. The only downside is even if you do drop them and charge into an objective, if they do have a bad combat, they're only control score. You're only getting 3 on there. If you're getting all 3 of them on there, you need to kind of kill the unit you're charging into. Again, also, if they shield quite well on the objective, so you may be only getting 1 or 2 touching it, you might kill a lot of the squad, but not all of it.
And then the model that I like least from this army.
We've got Knight of Alexor, so he is a hero. Importantly, not your general. He's just a hero.
Which I think is really powerful. Because the amount of times I'll get a card and be like, great, but it's... pick a hero to use it. And my hero's dead, and so you can't do it. You have got a double chance to do that.
It allows you to use all of those abilities that obviously you don't get to use if your general dies. Because they say most spearheads only have the one hero, and it's typically your general. And to be fair, he is also quite tanky. He shouldn't die. So he has 6 health, control score of a 5, very strong in itself,
Yeah.
and saving on a 3. He's not the most brilliant in combat, but he's still not bad. He gets 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 1, 2 damage. If he really pops off, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Typically, you'll probably only get 1 or 2 through though, so don't rely on him too much for damage. But you know what he is brilliant for? Why the Vanquishers are fighting something or whatever, you give him his own buff. Pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target. Effects, you heal D3 to the target. And in addition, you add 3 to the control score. And importantly, it's until the start of your next turn.
That's the good
That's
part.
the
If
really
it was
good
just
thing.
in your turn, it would be good still.
Yeah.
But the fact that, and especially if you're doubled,
You're
getting that thing's getting it for those 3 turns. So that is very good.
That is very strong. Takes the chariot up to a 5, makes it the second strongest control score in the whole army if you've even ever got the whole thing buff. Most squads, if they've not got buffs on them, tend to have 5 units of 1, which means your chariots beating them and drawing with them, and then he only has to kill 1. It's very strong. And obviously that heal on top.
Yeah, because that's what I find. You want to kill him, playing against him. You want him to be no longer there. However, if you can't do the 6 health on a 3-up save, he'll just heal. And then you've wasted those attacks essentially. So it is a really difficult one to know what to do with him. Do you ignore him, but then he'll keep giving that? Do you try and kill him, but you've got to kill him?
And then the fact of if you're playing him smart, he's on an objective, 8 control score on an objective, which means you're fighting on an objective that you're probably not going to take. Unless you have got something that can just kill him. I'm not saying he's very tanky.
Yep.
The most average infantry squad's probably not taking him down in a turn. Maybe 2 if they roll well and you roll badly with your saves, but you're not taking that objective from him.
So that is the Yndrasta Spearhead.
Overall, I think it's quite a straightforward Spearhead. He doesn't have too many crazy abilities that you've really got to plan ahead, and it's fairly straightforward. And it's also very nice in the fact that pretty much everything hits on a 3 and wounds on a 3, saves on a 3. So it's very easy to learn and pick up.
Yeah, which
makes it a quick game.
You'd expect for Stormcast as that sort of main army. I think, not to try and give you too big a head there, Robert, but I do think that they're an easy one to probably play and do okay. But you probably need to know what's attacking what and what's going where if you want to be competitive with it. I don't think is an army you can just go, well, I'll play and probably win. You have to know what you're doing.
You need to pick your fights, which isn't the easiest thing to do with this army. And unfortunately, from that 3rd battle round, you could all best laid plans. If you just miss those 2 charges, it can make that a very hard game. But yeah, you've got to know what to fight. You've got to pick your fights in the right orders. Yeah. And you've got to understand your roles. And your opponent maybe doesn't necessarily understand it brilliantly. You'll probably win.
I think as a Nurgle player as well, I know the importance of setting up for that 3rd turn.
Yes.
And again, if people haven't played it before and don't kind of know to block out things, it makes that so much easier. It's so much harder when people know about that.
Yeah.
So depending on who you're playing, depends how maybe good and efficient that is for you.
Because one thing we haven't talked about, because it is very hard to do, potentially, if they do block out the board well enough and you can't put them down in the 3rd round. I've never had a situation like that.
Although having said all that, if that's the state of the game, you're probably not winning, even if you do get your Yndrasta down.
Yeah, as you'll see in the game that we had, if you watch the video, it's a very slow starting army. You need to score your points and kill them before the stuff comes down.
Yeah.
If you haven't done that, you're probably going to lose.
So if you were to give this army a rating for... I mean, I don't know why I'm asking you about this, because I think I painted half of this army for you. But
I painted the Vanquishers.
Okay, Vanquishers. I mean, to be fair, which models-wise is probably more than half the army.
More than half.
But if we're thinking about the army of how easy it is to put together, to paint...
And how good they look.
What are we giving it out of 5?
I mean... Painting wise, it's again you've probably got a better one, but I've painted a fair bit of Stormcast. Stormcast tends to be easier to paint because they're just guys in big golden armor.
Yeah, I think the only tricky bits are the like the capes
The
and things
capes
like
could be a
that. I
pain
think those are the
sometimes.
bits that if you want to
And
really
the
make
flags
your
have
army
a lot
look
of
good.
detail.
Yeah, that flag took me a long time.
Yeah.
But as a whole, no, I feel like you can paint them to a good standard fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And the look's still good.
Yndrasta obviously is a beautiful model, obviously for quite a small infantry hero as well. I can never get her wings to stay on, which is a bit awkward.
Yeah,
This army she is, I believe, push fit on the
I
wings.
think all of them are. Yeah.
The Annihilators also, again, considering they're just big dudes in big gold armor, they again look quite good,
Yeah.
pretty cool with the shields. And obviously Chariots are always a big impressive unit. So I'd maybe give it like, obviously you can overrule me here because like you said, you're the more this, but kind of like a 3.5, maybe a 4.
Yeah, no, I would say 3.5.
3.5.
I think, obviously, like I say, Ynastra probably gives them that 0.5.
Yeah.
If otherwise, they're fairly standard, a 3,
Yeah.
I would say, for everything. How do you find them to play?
As long as you can figure out what your army does and what it does well. There's no super complex stuff. There's no, like, everything's kind of self-contained in itself. I think it's a very easy army to pick up and play well. Not necessarily particularly brilliant, but play well. I would probably give them as just like a fun army, because like you say, you have got the spikes where you do, oh, I did loads of damage, oh, that's great. And there's very few times where it's like, oh, turn 1 I did a bad charge and now my whole army's wiped. So I think it's like a fun kind of easy pick-up army. I think I'd probably give them maybe a 4.
Yep.
Because like you say, the drop in, you've got to get the drop in the people in right.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you've got to plan for and make sure you get right.
Do you get frustrated if you have a bad start of the game and you're like, oh, yeah, your Nastra's coming in and the Annihilators,
Yeah,
but
you
I've only
can-
got 1 or 2 models. That's the only thing I would,
Yeah.
looking at playing against it, you're probably not having a lot of fun.
True.
Potentially, you know, you could be fine. But if that happens, maybe it's not. So, and then you miss your charges. It might be not a fun game.
Yeah, you have got that, but obviously you Stormcast.
Yeah.
That is like an outlier for it.
Yeah. I mean, they must be good because we're currently entered into a local competition, and you're into the knockout stages with this particular army.
With this army.
So it must be pretty good, and you've had to fight.
And I'm also the only person to beat everyone.
Yeah, you've had to manage to beat Nighthaunt, Carriage on Overlords, Nurgle, and Slaves of Darkness and Skaven. So there's there might be bad matchups, but as a whole, you have been able to beat a wide variety.
The thing with this army is it's not particularly brilliant at anything. It's not really bad at anything.
So any final comments about the army as a whole?
I do think it's a very good starting army, which is kind of probably what they were going for.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good little army. It's fun. You kind of get a little bit of everything. Maybe not the most competitive. There's definitely more competitive spearheads out there, but I would put it high average, low top, kind of area.
You're not going to take this and go, oh dear, I've not taken one that's going to win me anything here.
No, I think it's a very fun, and like I said, it's a very straightforward army. So if you're new to the game, it's very easy to pick up and not necessarily do things wrong. You tend to find with some abilities and some armies, you do them and you go, I've been doing that completely wrong because this wording's silly.
You mean when I thought that my Nurgle one was every model in their army you got to roll a dice? So I was rolling 10 dice and I realised it was every model in my unit.
Yeah.
Which makes a big difference, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I even won a match without bringing Knight of Elixir.
Oh yeah. So next time we play, you don't bring him, and I think I'll be very happy about that.
We won't do that. That was a very rough game.
Well, thank you very much for your thoughts on Stormcast. This has been our first one.
This is our first one. So yeah, any improvements people can think. If you've got any questions about the army or you want to hear something more, please let us know.
We are going to move on to other armies next, and there is also a battle of the Stormcast taking on my Nighthaunt, which we talked a little bit about there. So if you want to practically see them being played with and how that goes, then do check out that video.
How do we end it?
How do we end it, Robin? This is exactly how we end it. Just to warn you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to end it. I'm just going to have us awkwardly talk till the end.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm genuinely just going to leave all that in.
Yeah.